Welcome to the 26th episode of the Syntho podcast. I can't actually quite believe I'm saying 26. I'm still kind of getting used to this new territory of seriousness. As each episode that passes, it seems to be a bit more of a commitment to the whole podcasting cause. And yet today's a Q&A. I've took some questions from you guys from Instagram and I've got them on my phone in front of me, and I'm going to scroll through them and hopefully offer some entertainment, some education, and a bit of everything like usual. The podcast is sponsored by Syntho, as always, the electronic music hub, helping people take their music to the next level. If you want to know more about that and you're a producer, just head over to the Instagram, drop me a message, and I'm sure we can get you up and running making bombs. So I've had a few people say that I need to get some music on the intro, because at this point now we'd have the intro with a little jingle, but I need to get a kind of jingle sorted. So we're going to pretend we've had a little intro music there, because I now feel like it's really lacking that bridge between the introduction of you speaking to then starting the episode. But let's go. So the first question I've got wrote down, been sent in by Will Regan, is how long did it take to get signed on a label? Well, this question is one I don't really like answering, because you could easily get signed to a crap label pretty quick, or you could wait 10 years to try and get signed to your dream label and it may never happen. So in terms of like giving people a gauge of how long it should take them, it's actually kind of a not that helpful answer. But I guess if you're just interested in my situation, it was a 17 when I started making music, and then I released on Blind Vision Records the track Spoken Paris, which I made as part of my assignment on a music course that I did, but the music course wasn't very good. It was this thing for a year that I went to, but I spent most of the year partying and didn't really attend that much, because when I did attend, the topics were very, very basic in a class of 16 people, and I very quickly learned that in a class environment you're only going to learn as quick as the stupidest person in it when it comes to music production, because people just keep putting a hand up, asking questions, like super daft questions. No question is stupid, but some people ask some daft questions. But anyway, the track that I made, Spoken Paris, was actually a very cool track. Something I still really like now. Sent it out to a few labels, and it got released on Blind Vision. It didn't really get any plays. It didn't really do anything for me, and that's a lesson in itself, that it was on a VA. There wasn't really much legs on the label. It kind of was just a pointless release that maybe massaged my ego slightly and made me feel like I was getting somewhere. But in hindsight, it didn't actually do anything for my career and didn't really do anything. Not that's nothing on the label, because Blind Vision are doing great things now, actually. This was actually one of their very first releases. So big ups to the label for really carrying through, and every label's got to start somewhere. But looking back, the track was actually quite good, You can go and listen to it. It's called Spoken Paris. It's actually a really good track. But it didn't really do anything for me, and that was after about 4 years. I think I was 20 or 21. And then I released on Rich Next label, What Next? Not too long after that, and that was when it really... That track, Still Frustrated, it's called. People think that's one of my best tracks, and it was so simple. I made it on the Ableton Push. Long live the Push that I don't use anymore. Made it before work one day when I had a job in retail, and it did really well. Apollonia played it, which is mental, in DC-10. And it's funny because I don't think they've actually played my track since, and my production is definitely way more complex and better than it was then. However, it shows you that sometimes a groove's a groove. It doesn't matter about the complexity to it. That track worked well. So we're talking about 4 years, I would say. But I guess you're probably just asking because you're interested. But the music speaks for itself in the end, and the music really needs to be strong for it to have any impact. And I'd always recommend people to have a decent, a bit of a back catalogue before they go trying to churn out tunes to the world. Otherwise, you kind of just get a bit of momentum and then nothing to follow it up with, which was kind of what happened with Frustrated. I got a bit of a leg up in the game and people were beginning to know who I was, but then I didn't really have any substance to follow through with it. So that's that. Next, I've got the question, best set you've seen live and why, from Sam Rankin 96. I've seen some great ones. One that always comes to mind, I saw Pharaoh close Elemental Warehouse in ADA quite a few years back. The first time I'd ever really heard of him, and I messaged him afterwards saying that reminded me of a young Ricardo Villalobos, and then we ended up booking him for You and Me the following year. Just the way he did it, and I just envisioned this guy. Like in my head, it was just, I knew he had all his friends there because he's from Amsterdam, and he was closing, and he just killed it, playing really heavy, dark, twisted house, techno, electro. Really, really sick. And there's a few tracks on that night I remember that I can't remember the names off the top of my head now, but in my head I can remember the tune. I'm not gonna mime it to you or hum it to you, but he really captured the vibe. Died Sound Run played for You and Me in the Den. People at the night said they've not seen a night like that in the UK ever. It really reminded me of when I first started going out when I was younger, and people really partied hard. And I feel as the years go on in the UK, I feel like people don't party so much anymore. And when I say party, I mean just let loose and free dance. Don't leave till the end. I feel like now people end up leaving the clubs early. I feel like nights in the UK don't go to the end. It's like 3 a.m. and then people are tailing off. Where if you go abroad to Ibiza, you know, the club's packed at 7 a.m. But that night with Died, he really, really sent it to the end. Do you know, think what else? I've seen Ricardo back to back Luciano in Amnesia Terrace. That was epic. I've seen Corolla kill it in Amnesia Terrace till 11 in the morning multiple times with my mate Kurt. Big up Kurt. Once we even referenced it, it's like being at a football match. There was like just us two, like Italians everywhere because it's that late. People were jumping up. Corolla played a track called Avalanche, his own track. I think it's a remix. Google it after this. People were jumping. We were like, it's like being at a football match. That was a very good memory. But yeah, there's some that come to mind straight away. Man, I've seen so many great sets. And Zip at Sunwaves. Yeah. Houghton as well. Delgado, Voigtman. Houghton was one where like every single set was like one of the best sets you've ever seen because everyone just packs the best records for it. So going on to the next question. AJ Tate. What crucial piece of info you wish you knew when you started producing seriously? Man, I just wish I knew the basics. Like what I'm teaching people now is from the basics upwards, and I make sure that all the stones are covered that I didn't know about. I very much overcompensate for a lot of things that I explain, but like even just EQing and just knowing that taking mud or taking a bit of top end off can just help things sit in the mix more, and just basics, man. That's what I wish I knew because I figured out groove pretty quick. And I didn't know about VSTs either. I basically just wish I knew. Oh no, I tell you what. I wish I knew that you could pay to learn. I thought this was just a one-man game where you had to discover it all for free off YouTube, when it's far from that. You don't need to do it like that. You can pay, and I wish I'd known if I'd invested in myself way earlier, I probably would have took it way more serious. I think until you financially put some skin in the game, as they say, whether it be anything, whether it be fitness, any pursuit in life, until you put some fucking cash on the table, I just don't think you're in it, invested in it mentally or financially. I think putting some skin in the game, once I started buying hardware and things like that, you may say the hardware is what got my music better, or you may say it was the better speakers, but I reckon it was putting the money in, and you're pretty daft if you're going to spend a load of money on something and not put the work in. So yeah, there's a multiple things there I've just said, but a combination of them all, I would say. But yeah, I just wish I knew the basics more. Like I skipped over all the basics. I just was just trying to finish tracks and stuff and didn't really try and learn about the stuff, but it was magic at the same time because I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, hopefully that was a useful answer. Malachi Woods, what has been the best or worst phase of your music career? I would say the best phase is right now, because before all this pandemic, I wasn't playing regularly. I was playing gigs, but I wasn't playing all the time. It was good before the pandemic, but there was still no certainty. There was no secureness in where I was living. It was still just getting paid for gigs, not really saving any of the money, just kind of blowing it. Whereas now, after all this, I've got gigs every single weekend pretty much. So it's going to mean I can plan for the future more. I can not have to fucking worry about everything and just generally just live my best life, I guess. But the worst phase, I don't know, I think we just have, there's never been a bad moment, because I always say that I've always enjoyed every step of the way, and I've realised quite early on the commitment I was making to this cause. So I knew what it entailed. We all have their moments of doubt. There's weeks of doubt where we think, like, is this going to really happen? But the worst phase, I don't know. I don't really have a worst phase. Worst, it seems like such a strong word. I've been very fortunate to have lived at home this whole time, and I guess it would have been the financial pressure of quitting my job, but I did lessons as well to combat that. So I've been smart with my actions and the way I've gone about things and thought things through. So I've prevented myself from getting into very bad situations, whereas some people may have run themselves into the ground, run out of money and got themselves in a right pickle, and then it might have affected their music. But I would like to think that I've kind of been sensible. So yeah. But the best, let's think of the best actually. The best is right now, but if you think of actual moments and things like that, hide and seek was an incredible achievement for me and the team. Warming up for Apollonia for you and me. There's moments like that which will stay with me forever. But yeah, it's just been a good ride. I don't think there's been like a best and a worst. Kind of suggests there's a peak and a trough. It's not really been like that. It's been a very like steady. It's just got better and better. It's not really got good then gone shit. It's been just got better and better. So Larb98, what is your take on the underground state of dance music? I never really get this question. Like, it is thrown around a lot. Like the state of dance music. What is the state of dance music? I think the state of dance music is like the state of most industries now, infiltrated by social media in a way which was not that 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. But it's no different to any other scene. Anything that was once underground or not known is now very well publicized due to the media and social media. Podcasts like this, like 10 years ago, you wouldn't have got access to anyone with experience in the scene like this. Not to try and say that I'm anything special, but I mean, this wasn't a thing, podcasting, really 10 years ago. It was, but it wasn't as popular as it is now, and on YouTube, the face of it. So ultimately, I don't think there is really an underground dance music scene now. I think it's all very commercial, and people that try and argue that I just think are a bit naive. I also think, like, who cares as well? Like, if it was still underground, who the fuck cares? I think if you do things because it's underground, I think it's a bit like, okay, I just happened to stumble onto this music and it was considered underground at once upon a time. But even then, man, when I was younger, like, was it really underground? With the power of the internet, I think it meant you could dig deeper for things and go more underground, like put that in quotation marks, but it also meant the underground surfaced to the top, or sufficed. I'm not sure not sufficed. I think it surfaced to the top. So yeah, I don't think this really is underground music. But what do I think of the state of it? I don't know. It is what it is. Something like that you can't change, so why worry about it? Then question again from Larb98, how to diversify your income streams like I have? Well, I guess I've created a teaching platform. It's not really a secret to it, but I made sure I was skilled enough to offer insight to people that they pay me. That's how the free market works, that if you can offer value to someone, they'll pay you. You could do that with anything. If you've got other skills, if you can wash cars or whatever, you can sell your services, but ideally you want something which is scalable. So if you're washing cars, getting paid per hour, it's not really that good because you've got to give up your time. But there's a lot of stuff on the internet about this. I'm not going to be your business guru today, but diversified income, I think the pandemic has taught us, is very important for people that have got like self-employed jobs, things like that. I will say that I don't expect to rely on music as my income to the day I die. I don't now anyway. I've got other streams of income in my life. But yeah, I think relying just on music as your income is dangerous. Even if you were just teaching and DJing, I think that alone is dangerous. I think everyone should have diversified streams of income. So it is a good question, I guess, but I'm not your man to tell you how to diversify your income because I don't know your skill set. Maybe one day I'll be a business coach, but that could be my next diversified stream of income, guys. If you're interested, pop your name below and I'll email you the latest business plans. Jimmy James Music, what a question this is. What's the long-term goal you have, end game, and where do you see yourself in 5 years? So I actually went on a podcast yesterday, the Audio Tapas with Luke and Alex. It was a great chat, actually. I'm not going to lie. I was the sun was shining outside, and I was thinking, we picked the worst day to do this, but we had a great chat. And it's always good to be asked questions like this. I'm being asked questions. I've kind of learned about myself in the last year that I actually enjoy talking more than I thought, and I enjoy articulating my thoughts in a way. I think from just reading more stuff, listening to more podcasts, I like to share my opinion because I feel like my opinion has developed. This is an explanation of that right now as I'm just going on a tangent. But we spoke about this amazing quote that I said, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but underestimate what they can do in 5. And then it led me to think that I don't really have a plan for 5 years, even though I'm saying that. Like, we always look 1 month in advance, 1 year in advance, but in reality, you can't get that much done in that time. Obviously, you can tick away your small habits, but in terms of making a serious impact on your life, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year isn't enough time, really, for most things. You need to do things for a long period of time. So, yeah, then people underestimate what you can do in 5. So, to answer your actual question there, the long game for me, I would love to build a real media outlet through YouTube. That's, I guess, things with media and YouTube, you're the USP, it's me. So it's like, I can't say like Joe Rogan, like whoever, because it's not to be like them. It's just have my own thing of that, and just have my own media outlet where my insight is what sells, and my opinions, my entertainment, my whatever, my personality is what you guys watch it for. And I guess if you've watched this far in the video, I'm already one step there because I've got you watching somehow. But yeah, I think a long-term goal would be to have some kind of paid media platform like YouTube, or who knows what's around the corner, and have that as a stream of income and be able to talk, make videos, things like that. It's something I've learned that I really enjoy doing, but it's obviously a fucking long game. And it's like that thing, you overestimate what you can do in a year. By saying this time next year I may have a paid media platform, it's fucking bullshit. But in 5 years' time, maybe I could have one of the biggest podcasting channels in the world. That isn't unachievable in 5 years' time. And that kind of supports this theory of you underestimate what you can do in 5 years. But if I make a podcast every week for 5 years, you'd probably be somewhere up there, because I don't think many people in the world are doing one a week for 5 years. So yeah, that's something that in the long term I would like to do. Other investments, I definitely intend on having multiple streams of income in the long term. The fact that I got asked as a question, I guess we can keep mentioning that. So yeah, I don't plan on relying on DJing and music forever. It's a super bumpy and unsustainable the word? Business. Like, you don't know what's around the corner. COVID's taught us that. But even without COVID, I think who knows, man? It's such a crazy thing with clubs getting shut down, things like that. I think it's important to be aware that there'll always be a scene, but it's something where you think that it's good not to rely on that for your whole life. So I guess when I'm 50, I doubt I'll be playing 3 gigs a week, but I can't ever see myself just sat around doing fuck all. So yeah, paid media, man. Like, I'd be so sick to have a YouTube that's really big and you churn out content and getting paid for it, because like, I'm just chatting to you guys now that right now this is free. I'm not going to get paid by YouTube for it because I've not got enough views, but it'd be sick to be knowing I'm getting paid for this, with ads and YouTube ads and whatever else. But in 5 years' time, I reckon I'll be DJing, doing this, Syntho maybe substantially bigger. I don't think my life will be much different in 5 years to what I'm doing now. But the platforms should all be big. I think what I'll be doing in 5 years will be pretty similar to what I'm doing right now. But in the end, like the end game, I don't think I'll be doing just this. I think there'll be more things to the ecosystem. Don't forget, I've got the festival hide and seek. That's definitely a long-term goal to create something amazing with that, with my team. Yeah, that's quite an exciting one because there's no limits to that. So, yeah, hopefully that was a good answer. If you could go back and do anything differently, what would it be and why? From Jake Jagard. I don't have any regrets for anything I've done. There's nothing I regret doing. That isn't the question anyway. So, if I could do anything differently, I probably would have stayed at uni. I did a business degree for a year and dropped out. I just wasn't in the headspace to focus on it. I think a lesson there is I think 18's too young to go straight to uni. I think it's a very good idea to take a year out and then go the year after. I feel like you're going to be way more ready then to delve into it. I think that year away from education would have made me value education a lot more, but I think because I went straight into it, I just wasn't mature enough to take independent learning seriously. I know you go and sit in a classroom with a lecturer, but how much support do they actually give you really? I felt like I was just a kid thrown in Leeds and then told to go listen to a lecturer, and I didn't really go in that much either. Sorry, Mum. But in hindsight, like now, I could like learning, reading way more seriously than I did when I was 18. So is it my fault that I wasn't ready then to take it seriously? No, I don't think so. But I think for my own sake, I wish I'd probably stuck it out because it would be probably pretty cool to say I got a degree in business. I have thought recently, what if I went and did a degree, a part-time degree? But I don't have time right now, but I could probably create time. I think if I decided what to do it, I would definitely not rule out something academic in the future, going to learn to do something, a new skill. Not even a new skill, just go and get something and see. I would be intrigued to know what I'm actually capable of if I really learned and revised and took academics seriously. And I took school reasonably serious and A-levels and stuff. I just didn't really follow through to my potential. So in terms of academically, so I'd probably be pretty interested to know what I could actually achieve if I went and did it now. And that's what someone asked me the other day, what is my drive? What drives me to do what I do? And I think it's that curiosity to know what are we actually capable of as humans? What can you and I do? And I think if you think about that, it's really motivating to work harder and do things, because I would hate to be lay on my deathbed thinking I could have done so much more in my life. It doesn't mean you have to do everything in life, far from it. But I think we should always strive to wonder what we can actually achieve. So yeah, the only thing I'll probably do is stay at uni, but apart from that, I mean, maybe I wouldn't have thrown a few parties, maybe I wouldn't have gone to a few after parties, but apart from that, there's really nothing that I would say sticks out when it comes to doing things differently. I think fortunately I've not really made any big, anything that I regret, so fortunate in that respect. But I think it comes back to that very first question, which I can't remember what it was, but it was along the same vibe. So Reese Williams, what got me into house music? Someone asked me this the other day as well. I think I remember getting into like garage, and I was like super young, like hearing a garage CD, and then I bought Scooter on my if you know Scooter, the fucking rave music, on my old iPod or something like that. And then I just had like a connection with electronic music from a young age, and I didn't really know what house music was. Discovered drum and bass, people like Burial, sorry, drum bass, but then I discovered other genres, and then artists like Burial, then dubstep, things like that. And then yeah, I think then around 17, house music was just thriving, you know, the Hot Creations thing and things like that. And it was just a constant curiosity, like I said before, to discover more music. I really got into this YouTube rabbit hole thing of digging deeper and finding new stuff. And yeah, then some friends had decks near me, and then that was it. Literally, I bought a pair of decks for my 17th birthday or 16th birthday. 17th birthday, and then literally the rest is history. I went on them like every single night for about 3 years, and that's how I got good at DJing. I did it repeatedly, more than most people. I think as people get older, they don't do them massive long sessions on the decks like I was doing. Obviously, you do on different ways. You don't when you're partying, but I was generally coming back from sixth form college and just going on my decks. I feel like because I knew I should have been revising, it was like one extra incentive to go on the decks, where I feel like when you get older, just learning things in general is a bit more tedious and feels a bit more physically challenging. Whereas when I was 17, it was like go on the decks or revise for your psychology exam. I'll take the decks, mate. So Baker Music, he's actually called Josh Baker, this guy, funnily enough. When he joined Synth, I was like, who the fuck is imposting on me? But he's actually called Josh Baker. But his username is Baker_music with an X. So go and hurl abuse at him. Tell me he's the fake Josh Baker. No, I'm joking. He seems like a proper sound guy, so don't do that, guys. What has been the most defining / exciting moment in your career as an artist? Defining is a strong word, because I think define kind of suggests that something which is going to shape you forever. I don't know if I've had any defining moments yet in my career that. So I think when with exciting moments, I guess just signing to some of the big labels, like signing to Succumbit was really exciting when I did In Two Minds on there. I just felt a real buzz when that came out. I think that helped me a lot, actually, and that came out during the pandemic. Which is a real shame, because I feel like if the pandemic hadn't been going on, I think that would have really kick-started my DJing career. Because don't forget, even when the Piv EP came out, that was during the pandemic. I've released like loads of records since the pandemic has been going on, which is just insane, because I think a lot of people now know about me is because of the records I've released during the whole pandemic. So it's like so frustrating, but also so exciting, because when we go back, I'll meet so many new people who previously had never known. For the record, my following count has doubled since the pandemic. So I think part of that is due to synth. Well, a massive part of that is due to synth, though. But also releasing so many records in the pandemic. So yeah, it's interesting one. But exciting moments, that was big. Then just moments at the start when Apollonia played my track in DC10 and I got sent a video. It was on a Monday because it was Circle Loco. I was in the gym, I think. I was in the gym on Tuesday morning, and Jay Papa, big up Jay Papa if you're watching this, mate, the Ibiza legend himself, sent me a video of Dan Ganassia ripping Frustrated. Then they were playing it every single set then for a good while. So yeah, that was exciting. But yeah, defining moments, I feel like I've not really defined myself yet. I feel like some of the gigs, I've got a Locust gig coming up on 3rd of July and I'm playing Village Underground peak time. I feel like that could be a defining moment where it's a big fucking room, loud fucking speakers, and I'm going to be doing my best to deliver a powerful set. So that could be something which is spoken about for a while if I really deliver the goods, because I'm going to really try and show what I'm about there. So Parsons Green Music, I have a feeling there's not that many questions left. How did you initially get started, and how did you break through to getting your first gigs? Get started, I think if you mean how did I get started DJing, I got a pair of CDJ 800s for my 17th birthday or the Christmas that year, one or the other. DJ'd every single day. Got Logic, used Logic for a few months, got Ableton. I got a MacBook for my 18th birthday. That's what happened. I got a pair of decks for 17 and a Mac for 18. And then when I got the Mac, I got Ableton because I don't think Logic worked. So I just got I got a Mac, and then from that it was just making tunes and breakthrough to get my first gig. People underestimate the pointlessness of just getting random gigs in the short term. I think it's a lot of hassle. It's fun, yeah, but it can cause you a lot of headaches. And I think even now more than ever, there's so many DJs. So what I did then is probably not even helpful now, because I think there was no social media then. I guess now the advice would be use social media to connect with promoters and then go to their parties, try and be sound, send them a mix, and you might get a gig. But even then, I think it's kind of hard unless you can bring a lot of people. My first gigs came at, I got a few when I was younger, like when I was like 18, 19, at some point, the shit ones, but the first good ones were at Mint Club when I was a fresher, when I was 18, And then I also played Sankey's the same week. Mint was because when I was 18, that's now 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, it was different to what it is now in terms of... Oh, no, 7 years ago, I'm 25. There weren't as many DJs then. There's still a lot of DJs, don't get me wrong, but I managed to get a gig on the Thursday night. I just messaged the guy. I said, I'd sell some tickets for you. And it used to be very much like, if you sold tickets for people, paper ones, you could get a gig. Like if you sold loads of tickets and you DJ'd, if they knew you could sell 20 tickets, you could probably get a gig out of them. And I knew a lot of people. Did the same for the Sankey's night. And that Sankey's night, actually, the guys that ran that night, that led to the guys I've run the festival with now. So it's kind of crazy. The guys I met then at the very early stages is who I work with now on my festival, and you and me. So it's a crazy story, to be honest, which is going to come on one of the podcasts. But yeah, so I got the gigs by contacting promoters and essentially selling tickets for them. But because everything's online now, the whole paper ticket thing doesn't even exist. So that isn't possible. But the harsh truth is, to begin with, unless you've got a demand for your DJing skills, the only way to get a gig is if you're going to bring people with you. And I mean like 20 people. So if you're a popular guy with loads of mates, you'd probably be alright. But if you've got no mates and you're best off just knuckling down the studio, making mixes, speaking on social media, and just really trying to make good music, because the harsh reality is, I'm the promoter, why would I give you a gig if what am I getting from that? Like, there's nothing. The free market works in a way where if you want something, you've got to give something. People book me to play a gig because then they can sell tickets, because people then come to see me play. There needs to be a system. Well, that's how the world works. And if you've got no pull, as they say, if you can't pull a crowd in, and you've not got any kind of name yet, then you're not going to be able to get a gig. It's the harsh truth of it, and I'm not going to try and beat around the bush with that. So yeah, the best thing to do is just connect with people, network. But if you've not really got any network at all, it's going to be fucking hard. So concentrate on the music. Georgie Boy Booth, have you ever not been taken seriously in the early days of your musical career? You know what? It's a very, very good question, because I think the pandemic has done one thing for me, which I'd never really thought would happen, is I think it's helped me come across in a much more serious way. I think by doing all this on camera and things like that, and building something, it's just made me feel more confident and accomplished. And also I think it's given me some time to step back and really look at how I hold myself day to day and things like that. And I feel like now I'm much more mature. And the one downside I would say is being young is that pre-pandemic I was 23 when I was playing gigs. I would say bigger DJs often treated me as a kid, but I would say, in fairness, I was probably acting like a bit of a kid, like partying a bit too hard, maybe just being a bit over the top sometimes, and not over the top, but just not holding myself in a way which a now 25-year-old Josh Baker would, he says. I just feel like I've managed to grow up a lot. I've got more responsibilities now. Like I've got things to think about. I've got things to deal with that I didn't before. So I feel like I've grown up a lot. But I would definitely say that in the earlier days, yeah, there has been times I wasn't taken seriously, but man, it's fucking normal. Like if you're 18, how can you expect to be taken seriously? You barely even know what you're doing at that age. Even when you're 22, and say if you've only been DJing 2 years and whatnot, like how can you expect to be taken seriously? These guys have done it like 10, 20, 30 years. I think you've got to wear your stripes in this game, and I don't like people that feel sorry for themselves for no reason. So that's all the questions that have been sent in. How long's this video been? 34 minutes. That was not bad. So yeah, we're now 26 episodes deep. Next week's episode is a belter. It's a big one. Big guest. I've got a few big guests lined up for the next few weeks. We're going back to biggies after I've done my own, and we did one with Joe. I'm doing another one with BYB Coaching next Wednesday as well. If you've got any guests you want to see on, start sending them in the comments below, because I'm definitely getting a bit more momentum. I think I've emailed some agents recently and everyone's quite game to come on now because I've done so many episodes. So now I can start realistically trying to approach more artists. And it's not necessarily bigger artists. I think even just ones that weren't that big, they were kind of skeptical on the substance of the podcast, but now there's a decent portfolio of things to check out. So, yeah, and hopefully that's been interesting, guys. I'll probably do another one of these in like a few months because they're fun to do and it's nice to answer some questions. I'm actually going to check on Instagram now to see if there's any more questions that I missed, because I did actually just screenshot these off Instagram, the question box. If you bear with me a second, if you've got this far, big respect. Nothing. We are all done. So, guys, I always keep forgetting to say this. Please like, subscribe, and comment as well. I think comments can help the algorithm, but definitely like and subscribe. Something I keep forgetting to tell people to do. But if you've got this far, you must enjoy what I'm doing. So I would kindly ask just to give me something back. And it's it's been a pleasure as always, guys. I will catch you in the not so distant future.